So we are a representative from ExxonMobil. Today our topic is UX among Agile. First, my name is Beer. I finished my bachelor degree from architecture, and then I worked as a professional architecture for 4 and 5 years, and go to study master on UX, and come back to Thailand to work as a UX designer and researcher at the ExxonMobil right now.
And I'm Fa. I'm used to be the developer before. I'm used to be the UX designer researcher, and now I'm the business analyst at ExxonMobil. So for our talk is the UX among Agile. We're gonna divide it into two parts. The first one is the concept of the problem and the suggest solution, and the second part is the real case scenario from our company, which will conduct by PBA. So thank you, PBA. So let's get started with our talk, UX among Agile. I wonder what is your first thoughts about this title? Personally, for me, it reminds me of the famous game right now called Among Us. The concept of this game is that there are many people in the team and they need to complete all the tasks together in order to fix a spaceship and then they can go back home. Meanwhile, within this game, there might be one or two imposters who act as a villain in this game. The purpose of the imposter is to prevent the team to complete the mission, and at the same time, they can even kill the member. And how this relates back to our title? For me, I think that agile working teams is like a crewmate. Everyone has their own personal tasks, but they share the same goal. In this case, is to fix the spaceship. And for UX, of course, we are imposter. It doesn't mean that we want to kill the member in our team. Even sometimes we want to. But anyway, the imposter in this case is like, as our UX approach, sometimes we slow down the process. So it can make them perceive us as imposter. And how can we slow them down? The first rule of thumb of UX person, we are not our user. So every time our team come up with an ideas, enhancement, or new feature, for us it's just only an hypothesis. And we need to validate that before we actually start the work. So to go back to our user and do some research, sometimes it takes time, especially for us as ExxonMobil, because we are a global company. Even for our internal tool, we have the user all around the world. So every time we want to do the user research, it means that we need to get back to our user, ask the permission from their supervisors, ask some time from them, and also we need to deal with the time zone difference. So this problem can lead back to some delay and lead time to our project timeline. Another problem is that for us, the agile working team, we are consist of many people from multifunction, such as Scrum Master, Product Owner, Analyst, UX, and also developer. We work together to share as we share the same goal, but we are not the one who working on our own. We have the user called a business team. Business team play important roles on making a decision and planning strategy. So they have some data in their mind. They have the business strategy that they need to achieve. So then they know that, okay, if they want to deliver one feature in the current timeline, the delay of this one can affect to the loss of the profits or the loss of customer. Thus, the business team is not the one who use our product. We have the actual user that use our product. These users usually are the people in the operational level, such as customer service, people at the warehouse, or people at the manufacturing. So every feature that we as a working team develop, it has direct impact to this user. Still, user is not our final destination just yet, because for our final goals are customer, the one who actually buy some mobile product and the one that pay to us. So as you can see, we have these several layers of users over here, and sometimes the mixture of the layer can cause some conflict. For example, when business team have an idea that they want to increase the customer experience, they might come up with a feature to reduce the workload of the customer, and that workload might transfer to our user. So when we as a working team, we develop and deliver a new feature, and when we get back to user again, we might get some bad feedback such as the new feature just make them work harder. And with this problem and complexity, how can we, as a UX, help our team to working in a better place? So we come up with this three approach. plan, engage, and adapt. As I mentioned earlier, user research are the UX methodology that take a lot of time. So the best way to prevent the delay and lead time is to fix out the schedule in the planning at first. Within ExxonMobil, we usually have something called the quarter planning, when the business come up with some strategy and a list of ideas that they want to improve. So before we planning each sprint, we can write down all the idea that business have, and then we can group together. For example, if this quarter business have come up with 5 ideas, the ideas 1, 2, and 3 might can be grouped together because they are occur in the same flow in the very beginning of the task, and then idea 4 and 5 can be into different one. So for the sprint one, we have the 10 working days, right? So our agreement is that we cannot fix 3 days in the first sprint to do the research. And we can use that 3 days to research for the idea to validate that whether the idea 1, 2, and 3 is good enough to go or not. If we do the research and the user agree with that and they want to use our feature, we can leave 2 weeks for our working team to do the development. And then for sprint 2, we're gonna have another 2 fixed day to do a quick feedback. So this quick feedback isn't necessary to be just only the complete version of the feature. We can do just only the MVP, the mini viable product. So just only small enhancements, just only a small enhancement, and then we can get back to our user and test whether this is what they really want or not. And if our validation work, it means that we can go next to the other ideas, idea number 4 and number 5. So in sprint 3, we also have another 3 day fix for the research. But if during sprint 2 that we do the quick feedback, it doesn't work, we also have time to fix the change, and we can use that 3 slot to validate the feedback again. And then after we already plan the fixed schedule, it's time to do the research. In order to do the user research, we usually consist of 2 people. The first one is the interviewer, which will focus on the user, keeps asking the question, trying to hold on the conversation. Their main goal is to dig down the inside of the user, whether what is their problem and what's their need. This role usually performed by the UX person. And we also have another important role called scriber. This role are the one who focus on the answer. No matter what user react or answer, the scriber need to take down the note as much as possible. And they also the scriber also the important role that they can observe the reaction from the customer, both verbal and non-verbal. So for this scriber role, it doesn't need to be the person to do that. So we can engage our working team and our stakeholders, such as the developer or business person, to engage into this role. The benefit of this engagement is that now our working team can have a better picture of our user. Now they can see that our user are the real human being, not just only the stat in the Google Analytics or just another number in the satisfaction survey. With this engagement, our team will have a better understanding of what is UX and what we want to do and why we need to do it. So when they get back to their own position, they're gonna have some user-centered mindset in their mind, and now they can working better with have the user in their mind. And after engagement, we already planned for the research, and we did the research already, but it will worth nothing if we don't apply our finding into our work. So I think you're already familiar with this kind of the sprint chart. So for the planning, we already did the pre-research to validate whether our idea is worth going or not. And then, of course, we do the design and development. And the last important thing, we need to test the idea. So for the user research, it doesn't necessarily to be just only the initial one that we do before we decide everything. But every time that we finish some developing, whether it's big or small, we can get back to our user and test for the idea. Because even though in the very beginning of the stage, user very interested in our feature and they want to do it, in actual work, when the work come out, they might have another feeling. Because no one can imagine as exactly as the reality are. So I will leave you with these three approaches. First, planning. Put everything into the schedule. And next, two is the engage. So engage our team. We help together to understand more about on our user. And the last one is to adapt. No matter what the results are, we can adapt it into our work. And next, I, PBI will share you about the real case scenario from ExxonMobil.
Hello, me again. So, as far I have shared with you all, but how is like in the realities? How do we apply in the real scenario in agile environments? What is our challenge and how do we adapt and overcome it? So today I will share with you my UX experience in ExxonMobil. As you all might know, we are oil and gas corporate with more than 70 employees around the world. We have various up pipeline from upstream to downstream. To give you a quick, brief explanation in our business, we have upstream. Upstream is the process in oil and gas, is the process that we extract all the product from the earth or from the oceans. And downstream is the process that occur after that production part until the point of sale. For example, plants, manufacturing, sale, retail, customer service, and so on. But today we will focus on the downstream part. So in the beginning at manufacturing until the customer service. Last year, I have given a talk as well with พี่จักริดนะคะ about the begin again. My talk was focused on the discovery phase, and the research part. Why don't we do it? Of course, time, cost, what we already know what to build. Someone or some people tell you what to build, which mostly might come from their own idea or some number that they see in the report. And why should we do it? To reduce any uncertainty and also to provide a purpose and direction for your project, and also to highlight any potential roadblock that might occur in the future. Again, 80-20 rules can apply here. 80% of the problems are mostly from the 20% cost. Finding as much of that 20% as possible in advance will save a disproportionate amount of time and money. And this will relate with my first experience as a UX in customer service department. Customer service, the name already tell you, right? We tend to focus on the customers. Customer is our first priorities. So our users or our employees tend to have the lower priorities. So that's why my user research or feedback is tend to slow down the process like what Fa have mentioned. So at the beginning, me and my teammate were assigned to do the design of the product, various of screens. But when we get back to our users, they want to talk, they want to discuss about their operation process, not the tools. So it's a one-on-one interview, right? And it's one-on-one taste. The pattern happened. All of them have mentioned about their workaround that they have to find in order to execute the work. And the thing that matters is, from the customer side, they feel no difference. What does that mean? That means our employees take more effort to deliver the same experience to the customers. So someone can see the reports from these tools. Someone can see the dashboard about the performance, which is slower, by the way. So after that, me and my teammate will realize that right now our roles is more than just the UX and UIs. It's more like a service design because it involves the operation process together with the tools and the touch point between the customers and the users as well. So what we did is before we go live with any team, we will go to talk with the users. The goal is to understand their working process. And the thing that we found out is in each team and in each location, even though they have the same role as a CS, but the way they execute the work, the way they interact with the customers, or even the cultures are all different. And half of the time, or 80% of the time, the project team are not aware about this. So we as a team in Agile, we try to adapt, not just to improve the tools, but also to improve the operation process as well, in order to allow the users to execute the work more effective way, not the other way around. And after that, when we went live with them, I will go back to them and get the feedback about the tools, of course, the flow, the design, and also the operation process as well, if the whole journey is work for them. I have interviewed one-on-one up to 90 users around the world, delivered 22 reports in 18 sprints. And that's how we work in Agile, how we as a team try to adapt together for the users. And to be honest, I feel thankful and appreciate for my leadership in the ExxonMobil, as well as he is very open-minded and listening to us and willing to balance between the project goal that we have to achieve and the user needs. And that's how UX work among Agile in customer service. And next one, this year, I have moved my role from the customer service to the manufacturing. What is the difference between these two? In general, customer service is make more sense. That means it's a lot easier to understand the process. We have the product, the customer wants to buy, we sell, they pay, we deliver, and end. But in the manufacturing, is another whole stories. And also the work requirement for the UX, the team challenges, everything is different as well. Imagine 100 years in oil refinery, or โรงกลั่นนะคะ everything is analog, everything is manual. We use a lot of papers to run super complex operation process. We use tons of paper in the routine execution work. And when the world change, we adapt. We try to move the analog world into the digital. And that when Agile team come in. And as in refineries, of course, we have only our employees, right? So our first priorities is users here in manufacturing. So when I first joined project, this project is a vendor project. That means we hired someone to develop most parts of the tools for us. And when I first joined project, which is just 6 months ago, the tools were there already. So my main role there is first to do the design assessment on the tools that already developed. And also in the parallel, I also do the design development for those items. I'm kind of aware that I have to get a lot of conversation with the vendor in order to understand their capabilities, if they can follow up my design. But the thing that I'm not aware at all is 90% of the time they're gonna say no to me, even just to change the background from gray to white color. They said this is customized item. What does that mean? That means more time, more effort, and more money. You know what will happen next, right? So my PO come and discuss with me, as her concern right now is the cost. Of course, like most of us here maybe. So I totally understand her. So what I did is I prioritize my design item into critical, medium, low, or just nice to have. For example, the critical item is going to be most like a text flow, the UX flow, if the users can intuitively use and follow the process to execute the work. And the nice to have item maybe just the space between the title and the contents, or the font type, those kind of things. And right now, at this moment, we just focus on the critical item first, so the project can move on. And first, that's how we adapt. Second, in each sprint planning, I start to notice that I keep moving my cart. That means I did not deliver any work in the system at all, but not in the reality. But because in our product, we have several use cases inside. And in those several use cases, we have a very complexity tax. And also for the design development, we have a lot of back and forth. We have a lot of conversation on the design change between us, project team, the users, the business, and also the vendor capacities. That create a lot of meeting, conversation back and forth to get the alignments between the design change, users' requirements, and the vendor capacities, and so on. And then the work is never stop. It's never end. So I start to break my card into smaller one, like what Charles have mentioned. I break into the smaller item as well. Also for the design assessment, and also for the design development. And for each of the use case, I even break into the smaller cards if they have any complexities. For the design developments, let's say that I have delivered the new feature design. And if I have to change, adjust a bit because of the vendor capacities, before I will move the card, but now I will just close this card because I consider that I already take the effort to deliver that and create the new one. With that, I be able to deliver my work in the reality and also in the system, and also help me to focus on the smaller tasks. And the last one, as a UX, we have to test with the users, right? So in each quarter, we will have one or two UAT with the users. So I have to convince my product owner for me to have the one-on-one session with the users to do the usability test. Me in Bangkok, Thailand, my users in Louisiana, United States, we have to do a virtual usability test. The thing that I thought is going to be my main challenge turned out is not. Mostly it's time zone because have to start working from 9 a.m. over there, which is 9 p.m. here, until 4 in the morning or sometimes 6 a.m. Yes. So, and another important thing is the concern for the UX as a researcher. The user have to feel comfortable to talk with you, right? The user have to feel confident to speak up if they struck on something or some filters. The thing that helped me a lot is turn on the camera, show your face. One of the time, actually, it's my first users that we do the usability test this year. When he first joined the hall, his voice is very monotone, very quiet, and a little bit cold. And then I turn on my camera and give him a Thailand smile, introduce myself, and tell him why we are here today and what we need to do. And then he started to turn on his camera, and the ambient totally changed. We start with a simple conversation that all of the users gonna ask me exactly three same questions. Where am I located? What is the time right now? Is it dark outside? And why my name is Beer? With this simple question, the ambient change. The users comfortable to talk to me. They tend to share their thoughts more. What do they think about this tool? What do they struggle? What do they feel? Everything they share with me. So that's how we work. And as I share with you, as a UX in manufacturing, my three main work is design assessment, design development, and the usability test. In all those of the report, my PO will always involve this one into the stakeholder meetings to do further any decision making, or also to discuss with business about their directions. And that's how UX work among Agile in manufacturing. Before we go out for the lunch, after listen to me and Fa talking for 20 minutes, so at least before go out, I want you to remember three main things for my experience is first, identify your users, which sometimes for some product is not the target. You have to identify them. And second, when you know who are there already, go and talk with them. How is their journey? What's their challenge? And taste with them is it's very helpful. I receive many questions about how many people should I interview, how many people should I test with, because sometimes it's too many, but sometimes it's not enough. There was a research support that with only 5 users, you will be able to cover 80%, 85% of the problem of your product. So you can start right now on the Monday. And the last and not least is to prioritize and plan as a team. Communication is really, really important. What is your common goals? And what did you feel? Speak up, asking for feedbacks, talk to each other so we can work among Agile together. Thank you ค่ะ
นี่ค่ะ
Oh, thank you ครับ Okay. Any question? We have time before lunch. We have a question, and look like they're ready for answer the question right now. Any question?
I have questions. So in ExxonMobil, when the UX designer, you are blending into the team or you are a separate department?
We are separate department, but we have every UX. Oh, not every. In each of the products, some product gonna have the UX inject inside. So we work together as the Agile team, one team. Yeah.
Okay. So any kind of problem from this? I mean, means that you have to have a lot of UX guys in each team, right?
Actually, it's what like Fa mentioned that sometimes we feel like we are imposter in the team, that we are the one who slow down because of this, of that, you know. So from my experience, the UX experience depends on the leaders of each project or the product owner. In the manufacturing, the product owner already buy in UX, she value, so she always inject the UX before we deploy anything and get the feedback. So that will help a lot. It's not just me, but it's the team.
Okay. And any questions? I have another questions.
Everybody hungry, maybe.
Anyone can share or that people questions or no lah. So my question is that about the requirement. How long? I mean, example that we do as a sprint, right? For the new requirement, how long? For the new requirement, what is the lead time for that? You do the requirement in advance, right? For example, for sprint 1, you do a design, sprint 2, you do design, and then sprint 3, you are sending to the agile team for development. Is that correct?
No, we work into the agile. Let's say that I have the new features that I have to develop the design, and then we have meetings almost every day with the vendor and the product and the team together. That okay, this is design change, and then the following days, 2 days, they deploy, and then I check, and then if it's passed, it's passed. But if we have, sometimes we have to get the alignment with the users as well to get the feedback, and that's happened. It can happen, and it can end in one sprint ค่ะ
You mean that the design change can add in one sprint?
ใช่
But how about the newly product? So means that we have to do it in advance, right? Before we going into the sprint. But the question is that how long for that? Are you still doing in the current sprint?
If you mean like one features or use case
One use case. For example,
Oh.
you do a new product for the manufacturing like this.
Oh, I think we will need, maybe depends on the number of the users and numbers of the which location that we're gonna roll out as well. It can take for two sprints. Yeah, 2 sprints for to do the research. But if it's a small one, we can do in one sprint.
Okay, it depends, right?
ใช่ค่ะ
Yes, because actually it depends. Because usually when we have the new requirement, we're gonna start with the research first, whether that idea is was enough to do or not. And then we're gonna plan together as agile team whether how long it's gonna take to do the implementation. And then if the implementation period is quite long, we can set a break whether we're gonna have some demo or UAT to get the quick feedback before the assessment. It's quite depend.
Okay.
Okay. If you have another question, I suggest you go lunch
At lunch
together.
ค่ะ
Na.
Because the reason is that I would like to share to all everyone in here. Maybe some people don't know
Yeah.
what to ask, so I'm
Thanks
be
for your
here.
question.
You are
It's not come from inside, right?
Any questions คะ
Okay.
Wait a minute. Too old to run นะ
1 hour she will come to you. Na.
What is the retrospective process on your agile? I'm not sure I use the right thing, but how you let me correct myself. How you handle the change, like in effectively handle the change in your like user requirement and in your product with agile, of course.
พี่ไหม Okay. As I mentioned, as the last one is communication นะคะ we have like almost daily meeting with the vendor and the product owner because it's a time zone as well. Then when we receive the new requirement that the new users feedback from that requirements, we're gonna have at night, and in the morning we're gonna work on that item in the meeting. If this is a vendor capacity can change or not, and what is my recommendation, and we just take action from that. Great. พอเล็กตอบถู
Yep.
กหรือเปล่า
I understand. So, despite that change, like there will be a request from the customer or from your audience, your user. Like I noticed that you have three different kind of the way to prioritize, but how to prioritize the requirement let's say if it have the exactly same like same priority, let's say it both are critical, and how you handle this prioritization.
Actually, that one of my struggle as well because user requirements mostly is not like one or two, but it's gonna be 20 slide of PowerPoint that they need this, right? So my way of working, I pair up with the product owner and go through everyone together. What is my recommendation for this change? And also, it will be nice if we have the user in that call, also to get the alignment. Like, what about this? Why do you need this one? Can we remove this one? Can we execute? Can we run the process? Can you run the operation without this function? So that will be just the medium. But if any function that they say that we must have this one, if not, users cannot use this product have to have this one. Just say, for example, like a timer when they execute the work, those kind of special function. Then that one gonna go to the critical one, the one that the users cannot miss in the product. That one is a critical.
Another
Yeah.
important thing is that when we do the prioritization, it's not only the user and the product owner from the business team, we also need to engage both developer for the development effort too. So that we have many aspects to help evaluate whether this priority is suitable and have more value or not.
Okay. Collaboration and focus on customer and user, right?
ค่ะ
Okay.
Uh,
พอนะ I think you both นะ next for lunch.
Cool. So like I'm maybe I'm not clear in my question, but my question is exactly like we have like I'm come from the development team, right? In development team, what we do usually is to like to compare the feature with the ROI mechanic or like some other mechanic that can evaluate whether the which feature get more prioritized. But this is like I'm very interesting into this. Like for the UX itself is very hard and ambiguous to measure. Like, and when come to the prioritize, there might be two requirements that we need this functionality. Let's say we need to have the like persistent login, for instance. And then in another functionality, let's say we want to have a like uh, the how to transfer. It's like the experience where user click on the link and it show up the native application rather than the web view. So this functionality, let's say it have the like same prioritize from the customer. So like usually what will you consider to make like what feature have higher priority? Like you understand what I try to say, right?
So if what you mentioned is you have the exactly same priorities, right?
Yeah, exactly same.
So we have to do both anyway.
You can choose one because you have 5 people in your team.
So you have to talk with the developers which one is faster to do and deploy first. And then next sprint you do another one. If you have to do two anyway, so we have to do it, right? Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. ค่ะ
Okay.
The last one, can I ask?
Last one.
About the prototype, do we still need a prototype? Just need more explanation for that?
For me, yes, ค่ะ, is quite important, but not a whole flow. Maybe we need the quick one is just like maybe a screen. Just if it's intuitive, the navigation, everything, look and feel is okay. But if we need like a whole flow, we will do just a quick one, a wireframe first, and then do a quick test with the users and the teams. Is this work when we deploy it?
Okay, thank you ค่ะ
Okay, thank you ครับ
ขอบคุณ
Okay, we have
ค่ะ
a
Thank
little
you.
gift for you. ขอบคุณครับขอบคุณครับ Thank you ครับ Okay I
Okay.
think next
Next
is
lunch.
very important. You are waiting for it. Next is a lunch. So
So
see where?
the direction just go straight out of this room, past the pond,